January to April 1940. In late April, 3 second-line divisions, 12, 23, 46, were also sent to France, as well as the incomplete 1st Armored Division. By May 1940, the BEF, on paper, consisted of 394,165 troops in 13 infantry and 1 armored division. However, only the 5 regular infantry divisions were adequately trained and equipped, even though civilian vehicles were still being used until sufficient military lorries became available. The newly raised TA divisions were much further behind, and the equipment they were provided was obsolescent. Particularly egregious was the dearth of tactical radios at brigade level and below, which made command or control of mobile operations problematic. British training was also highly deficient in a number of regards, being still primarily geared towards 1918-style tactics and unconcerned with the possibility of air attack. British armored units were far from combat ready, with a mix of poorly designed tank types and saddled with an incoherent doctrine. Optimistically, the British leadership hoped that the much larger French army, which had 74 divisions facing Germany, would conduct the bulk of any ground operations until the BEF was fully trained and equipped. On the 18th of December, 1939, the lead elements of the 1st Canadian Infantry Division arrived at Aldershot, in England, the first major Commonwealth contribution to the British war effort. Prior to the war, Canada had a tiny regular army of only 4,500 personnel, backed by a 10,000-man militia, but the decision was made to send troops to Great Britain as soon as possible. The Canadian soldiers arrived without steel helmets, equipped with worn-out Lewis guns and 18-pounder artillery pieces. Britain would have to outfit them with virtually all their equipment, adding to the delay of outfitting the TA divisions. Furthermore, 3/4 of the Canadians were untrained recruits. By March 1940, the Canadian 1st Infantry Division grew to a 23,000-man force, and a 2nd Division was being readied in Canada. Australia also promised to send a corps with 2 infantry divisions to join the BEF in France, and New Zealand promised 1 division, but most of these troops were still training in Palestine or en route when France capitulated. When the German Western Offensive began on the 10th of May, most of the BEF moved into Belgium along with the best French divisions, intending to block any German turning movement into northern France, as had occurred in 1914. On the same day, Winston Churchill succeeded Neville Chamberlain as Prime Minister. Yet the German invasion of Belgium was not the main effort. That came further south, at Sedan, where Generaloberst Heinz Guderian's panzers from the 19th Armée Corps, motorized, smashed through second-rate French divisions and quickly achieved a major breakthrough. Guderian's panzers advanced westward to the coast, and as fate would have it, the only Allied formation in their path was the 12th Infantry Division, a second-line TA formation assigned to protect the BEF's lines of communications into Belgium. On the 20th of May, all 3 of Guderian's Panzerdivisionen overran the dispersed British territorials, completely demolishing the division. Its battalions suffered 80% losses, and the division was permanently disbanded. With that minor obstacle removed, the 2nd Panzer Division reached the English Channel near Abbeville and pivoted northward. Lord Gort's BEF and 3 French armies were now isolated. For a few days, the Allies attempted to mount a counter-offensive to reopen land communications to the south. But these efforts failed. As France wilted under the German onslaught, Churchill made a number of hasty decisions. He quickly realized that the BEF was in serious danger, and that possession of the Channel ports was crucial to sustaining or evacuating Lord Gort's forces. The Royal Navy was already beginning to plan for an evacuation of the BEF, designated Operation Dynamo. But the Channel ports needed to be secured from Guderian's panzers, sweeping in from the south. In order to demonstrate British resolve, Churchill